There comes a time in life when everything around you becomes silent. Not because nothing is happening, but because something immense is about to unfold. You see, when Allah decides to act, He often begins by removing the noise. The voices that have hurt you disappear. The paths that exhaust you close. The answers you've been waiting for no longer come. And you wonder, why this sudden calm? Why this pause I didn't ask for? You don't know it yet, but this silence isn't emptiness. It's a sign, a divine strategy. Because there comes a time when Allah tells you, without words, without any indication, be still, don't speak. Your breakthrough is coming, and it will reveal everything. If you've felt this strange silence in your life, then what you're about to hear is no coincidence. There are times when Allah plunges you into a silence you didn't choose. A strange silence, almost sacred. A silence that surprises you because until just yesterday, everything seemed to be moving around you. The discussions, the plans, the answers, the signs, and then suddenly, everything stops. You continue to live, but something within you is suspended. You pray, but the answers no longer come as they once did. You move forward, but you no longer really know where you're headed. You fight, but no one sees your struggle. It's as if Allah has placed you in an inner space that only He understands. This silence isn't emptiness. It's a divine waiting room, a room one never enters willingly, but where Allah leads us when a profound transformation is about to begin. In this silence, you find yourself face to face with yourself, face to face with your fears, face to face with your wounds, face to face with your prayers that have yet to find their way, face to face with your crumbling certainties and your inner doubts that gnaw at you. And yet, this same silence protects you. It isolates you, not to abandon you, but to preserve you. For Allah knows exactly what you are becoming, and He knows that to become this version of yourself, stronger, more grounded, more lucid, you must go through a time when no one applauds you, understands you, or follows you. In this silence, Allah has not forgotten you. On the contrary, He has taken you under His wing personally. You see, when the world talks too much to you, when people take up too much space, when the illusions of this world make too much noise, your heart becomes deaf to the subtle guidance of Allah. Then He silences the world so that you can finally hear Him. He cuts off certain distractions. He closes certain doors. He removes certain people, not as a punishment, but as a purification. Silence is a purification, a sorting, a preparation. And there is something profoundly powerful in Allah telling you, without voice but with inner clarity, remain calm. Do not justify yourself. Do not run. Do not speak. Let me do it. You feel this phrase in your heart, even if you have never heard it with your ears. You recognize it because your soul understands it. It is guidance that is felt more than analyzed. For behind this silence, there is an invisible work. A work that no one can see but that your soul senses. Allah arranges things that you have not yet asked for. He removes trials that have not yet reached you. He averts dangers you are unaware of. He steers you away from paths that would have destroyed you. He creates opportunities you will only discover later. What you perceive as a pause is actually a divine strategy. What you feel as stillness is a moment when Allah aligns circumstances. What you see as silence is a message. A message to tell you that your next step requires more than your usual efforts. It requires a prepared soul, a purified heart, an enlightened intention. And sometimes, Allah must pull you from the hustle and bustle to take you where your voice cannot reach. He places you in a state of enforced calm, to enable you to receive what you would never have accepted amidst the noise. He prepares your breakthrough behind the scenes. He works in the unseen. He's acting in the dark. What if this silence is a sign that something is changing for you, more profoundly than you realize yet? Imagine a seed buried in the earth. No one is watching it. No one applauds its patience. No one knows what it's going through. Above ground, the world goes on. People talk, move forward, build, dream. But below, in a narrow, damp, alien place, the seed breathes alone, in the darkness. Do you know what's most painful for a seed? It's not being buried. It's feeling forgotten. And yet, it's precisely in this place where everything seems dead that life truly begins. The seed must be buried, pressed, even crushed, for the silent miracle to begin. That seed is you. And this earth that covers you, it represents the trials you don't understand, these doors that have closed, these people who have drifted away, these plans that have crumbled, these expectations that have never been met. You are not buried, you are planted. You may be in a phase where you feel underground, without light, without bearings, without progress. You look at your life and ask yourself, why did Allah put me here? Why now? Why like this? But behind this feeling of suffocation, there is a secret that Allah knows and that you only discover later. The earth is not your tomb. It is your cocoon. Each handful of earth that covers you is a layer of protection. Every pressure you feel is a preparation. Every silence you experience is fertile ground where Allah lays His decrees. You think you are motionless, but your soul is growing in a way that no visible growth could ever show. You think you are stuck, but in reality, you are taking root. And Allah never allows a soul to take root without reason. Look again at the seed. Before growing towards the sky, it must first sink deeper. It must open from within, even break, to release what it has always carried. And you too, there are things within you that must break. Illusions, attachments, dependencies, habits, fears. Because as long as you remain intact, closed, inviolate, you cannot become the elevated version that Allah is preparing. The seed does not choose its season. It does not choose the depth at which it is buried. It does not choose the amount of earth that covers it. She doesn't choose the weather, the light, the heat. All she can do is trust in what planted her. Allah placed you in this precise moment of your life with perfect timing. You are not late, you are not lost, you are not forgotten. You are in Allah's time, not your own. And sometimes, Allah puts you underground, not so that you are invisible, but so that no one can uproot you while He shapes something within you that no one could have understood. The earth that weighs you down today, it is what will give you the strength to stand tall tomorrow. The pressure you feel, it is what will bring forth what is meant to emerge. Because when the seed finally breaks through the earth, it is never the same as the one that was buried. It becomes stronger, greener, brighter, and above all, it becomes visible at the exact moment Allah decreed. And if you knew what is brewing beneath this earth that you do not understand, you would let Allah keep you there a little longer. Because what will emerge will have nothing to do with the person you were yesterday. You know, There are wounds you've never told anyone about, moments when you felt betrayed, misunderstood, diminished, and you kept smiling, just to hide the fact that you were on the verge of collapse. Words you swallowed because you knew that even if you spoke, no one would truly listen. Injustices that tore away pieces of your trust, your naivety, your peace. These are the moments when you asked yourself, why me? Why now? Why them? You felt judgmental stares without knowing your story. Words that hurt you without you understanding where they came from. Silent accusations, misunderstanding left to fester, doubts sown about your name, your intentions, your heart. And sometimes, the deepest pain wasn't what was done to you. It was realizing you could have responded, defended yourself, proven your truth, but something held you back. Yes, you wanted to speak. You wanted to shout that you weren't the person they thought you were. You wanted to correct the lies, restore your image, restore the balance. You wanted to say the phrase you repeat in your head every night. I didn't do anything wrong. But when you tried to speak, your throat tightened. When you tried to justify yourself, your heart began to tremble. When you thought about responding, a strange calm washed over you. It wasn't fear. It wasn't weakness. And it wasn't giving up. It was that subtle, almost imperceptible presence that Allah places around those He protects. A presence that restrains you at the very moment you are about to act against your own wisdom. A presence that whispers to your soul, don't touch anything. I heard. I saw. I counted. You know this feeling, don't you? That strange sensation that something prevents you from reacting impulsively, as if an invisible veil covered you, just enough to protect you from a word that would have outpaced your thoughts, a hasty decision, an emotion that was too intense. You couldn't explain it. But the explanation is simple. Allah restrained you out of mercy. Because if you had responded, if you had spoken out in anger, if you had tried to defend yourself on your own, you might have gotten yourself into a fight that wasn't yours. There are injustices that Allah wants to deal with Himself. Truths that Allah wants to reveal without you having to bear them. Lies that Allah wants to let fester until they crumble of their own accord. You think your silence makes you weak, but your silence is an armor that no one can penetrate. You think your patience vindicates those who hurt you, but your patience is a light they cannot extinguish. You think your calmness puts you in danger, but your calmness is proof that Allah stands between you and what could have destroyed you. It wasn't you who remained silent. It is Allah who has protected you from yourself. He prevented you from responding too quickly. He prevented you from reacting too strongly. He prevented you from ruining your own destiny with excessive pain. Because some battles are not won with words. They are won with confidence, with inner clarity, with the certainty that what is true will always come to light, and that what is false will always fall away. And somewhere deep inside, you feel it. You feel that a truth you haven't defended is now defending itself. You feel that a lie you haven't responded to is already losing steam. You feel that a justice you haven't sought is drawing closer to you. You've been asking yourself a lot of questions lately, haven't you? This silence around you disturbs you, surprises you, sometimes even terrifies you. So let me ask you another question. One you may never have dared to ask. What if this silence is precisely the answer you've been seeking for so long? You wonder why Allah has silenced you. Why, just as you were about to respond, something cut you off. Why, when you had the perfect phrase, the right reply, the legitimate defense, your words caught in your throat? So I ask you, what if Allah prevented you from saying something that would have damaged your destiny? What if this blockage wasn't frustration, but protection? You wonder why Allah prevents you from responding, why He leaves you speechless in the face of injustice. Why does He prevent you from expressing your heart even when you know you're right? What if, instead of defending you, Allah is silently defending you? What if, by withdrawing you from the scene, He is preventing your soul from absorbing wounds you weren't ready to bear? Look at your own life. How many times have you wanted to fight for a truth that ultimately revealed itself without you? How many times have you wanted to justify yourself when, with time, the masks naturally fell away? How many times have you wanted to speak when a silence created a justice deeper than any words? Now answer me honestly. What if Allah is isolating you at the very moment you want to defend yourself because He is shifting something you don't yet see? Perhaps you think this withdrawal is a punishment, but stop for a moment and ask yourself, when has Allah ever removed something without replacing it with something better later? What if this silence was actually a preparation for spiritual growth, an inner purification before an outer transformation, a necessary sorting out before a blessing your heart isn't yet ready to receive? Perhaps you feel as though Allah is closing paths around you, that opportunities are disappearing, that people are drifting away, that doors are refusing to open. But ask yourself this essential question. What if the paths that are closing were precisely the ones that would have led you astray from your true destiny? What if Allah is blocking these openings to spare you from wounds you don't even suspect, to prevent you from becoming attached to places where your soul wouldn't survive, to cut you off from what would have shattered your inner light? You wonder why you're in a season of restraint, a season where you have to hold back, where you have to absorb, where you have to observe without acting. Then imagine this. What if Allah were restraining your movement? Because what is coming towards you is so immense that you must be still to recognize it. What if this period where you understand nothing was precisely the sign that something is coming, something beyond your own plans, something you would never have dared to ask for? What if all this silence around you was actually the sound of what is being set in motion for you in the unseen realm? What if what you believe to be a pause was in truth an alignment, a divine repositioning, a subtle yet powerful preparation? What if this hesitation were proof that something great is already on its way to you, closer than you think, more precise than you imagine, more suited to your soul than anything you could have asked for? What if everything you're experiencing now wasn't a coincidence, but a message that tells you silently, wait a little longer, don't move, you'll understand.
There's a moment, just before a major upheaval, when everything seems to recede, like the sea. It stretches, it retreats, it moves away from the shore. And those who only know the surface panic. They see the sea leaving, they think it's running away. But those who understand its nature know that the sea never disappears without reason. It doesn't retreat to diminish. It retreats to gain momentum. You feel this retreat in your life, don't you? These opportunities slipping away, these people withdrawing, these projects you thought were solid, now slipping through your fingers like sand. This feeling that everything you were building has just taken a step backward. But stop for a second, breathe, and look at this inner scene with the eyes of your soul. What if this retreat isn't a loss, but an accumulation of divine strength? Have you ever seen a wave when it decides to return? When it unfurls, wide, high, powerful, ready to sweep everything away in its path? Before it arrives, it gathers the water. It gathers its strength. It gathers its depth. And when it returns, it is nothing like what it was a few moments before.
What you are experiencing is exactly like that. Your silences are not inaction. Your pauses are not giving up. These strange distances that Allah places in your life, they are not a punishment. It is Allah who pulls you from the shore for a moment to bring you back with a power you cannot yet imagine. You think you are losing momentum, but it is He who is repositioning you. You think you lack strength, but it is He who is secretly giving it to you. You think everything is receding, but everything that is yours is gathering in the unseen. Look at the wave. As it recedes, the ignorant say, "It's weakening." But those who know the sea whisper, "Wait." Because they know that true power is silent before it is spectacular. And you too are entering that season. You are in the moment when Allah withholds certain things just long enough for their return to be a breakthrough. A breakthrough you couldn't handle if it came too soon, too quickly, too easily. There are times when Allah deprives you of a movement to prepare you for a leap. He makes you take a step back to make you cover a distance you would never have dared to attempt. He withdraws the wave so that the rise is irresistible. Listen closely to what's happening inside you. This fatigue you feel, this strange weariness, this feeling that something is missing. It's not a sign of defeat. It's a sign of building, an internal, silent, essential building. Because the wave never announces when it returns. It comes back suddenly. It surprises. It overturns. It brings. And you too, something is returning to you. A truth you thought was lost. An opportunity you thought was over. A blessing you no longer dared to hope for. A relief you had stopped asking for. You don't see it, but it's accumulating. It's preparing itself. It's rising. Like the sea. What you take for a retreat is actually a rise in intensity. What you perceive as silence is a surge that nothing can stop. What you perceive as absence is a divine presence drawing near. And if you only knew how quickly a wave can return when Allah decides the time is right. There comes a time in life when everything begins to vibrate in a strange way. Nothing moves outwardly, but something, somewhere, begins to crack. It's subtle, almost imperceptible, like a breath passing through a curtain without disturbing it, yet announcing a presence. That moment is when Allah is about to reveal what your heart could no longer comprehend. Do you remember those situations that seemed confusing? Those people whose sincerity you couldn't discern? Those paths you couldn't tell if they were illuminated or leading you to an abyss? Perhaps you tried to speak, to explain, to defend your heart, to argue, and yet nothing changed. But Allah never needed you to argue. Allah never needed you to show what you saw. He knew, and He waited. Because there comes a time when the truth no longer needs words. It manifests itself. It reveals itself. It cuts through the fabric of lies with divine precision. And that moment, you are approaching it. It is strange, that moment. It resembles a silence that belongs to no one. A heavy silence, but not oppressive. Rather a silence that observes, that analyzes, that prepares. It is in this silence that the masks begin to sleep. You will see faces you thought were radiant lose their brightness. You will see people you thought competent make mistakes that reveal their true nature. You will see behaviors you excused just yesterday become impossible to ignore. It's as if Allah brings your inner vision closer to a scene you've been observing from too far away. As if everything that was blurry suddenly became clear, brutally clear. And it wasn't you who spoke. It wasn't you who denounced. It wasn't you who brought it to light. It was truth itself, that pierce the surface. This is the spiritual reality that few people understand. When Allah wills something to be seen, there is no place where it can remain hidden. He only needs to open a single door within your mind for 1,000 dark rooms to be illuminated. He only needs to breathe a single intention into your heart for all the intentions around you to become visible. He only needs to touch a single moment of your life, for everything you took for a coincidence to suddenly become undeniable. And this unveiling, it's not something you control. It's not something you provoke. It's something you receive. Like a hidden letter that destiny places in your hands. Like a divine message you weren't expecting but that your soul immediately recognizes. You'll recognize that moment because your intuition, long suppressed, will begin to speak again. It will be sharper, more certain, almost unsettling in its clarity. You'll feel things you didn't understand yesterday become crystal clear today. You'll see invisible dynamics appear in their rawest reality. You'll discover that some connections were false, forced, fragile, and that others, discreet, silent, were in fact destined. And you'll understand that it's not that the masks fall, it's that they no longer hold. Because when Allah decides to reveal, nothing can remain hidden, nothing. Neither the truth of others, nor the truth of your own heart. And that revelation is coming faster than you think.
You know, there's something you've long downplayed about yourself. Something you considered a lack of strength when it was actually a sign of guidance. You never truly saw the value of this patience you accumulated like scars. In silence, without witnesses, without applause. You were patient in a world that mocks patience. You were silent in a world that demands immediate action. You chose to keep your heart straight, even when everything around you seemed to urge you to stray. You may not realize it, but what you did there, what you held back, what you didn't say, what you didn't reveal, what you kept for Allah, it was a supplication in itself. No one congratulated you, no one supported you, no one knew what it cost you. But Allah saw. Do you think your silence was empty? Do you think your calmness was useless? Do you think your lack of response weakened you? No. Your silence spoke for you. Your calmness protected you. And your lack of revenge elevated you. You could have responded. You could have hurt. You could have revealed everything you knew. You could have returned the pain you received. And you even had the right to sometimes. But you chose something else. You chose to place your heart in Allah's hands instead of throwing it into the fire of impulsive reactions. This is not weakness. It is what few hearts are capable of. And Allah knows this. You were held back, not by fear, but by the light. A discreet, gentle, constant light. A light you may never have noticed, but which prevented you from saying what you would have regretted. That prevented you from doing what would have led you astray from your true destiny. That prevented you from becoming someone you are not. This light, it wasn't yours. It was given to you, placed in your heart at the exact moment you needed it. As if Allah had whispered to you, "Don't move yet. I know what you don't know." And you followed that whisper, even without realizing it. You don't know how many things you avoided by remaining calm. You don't know how many doors you kept open by not reacting. You don't know how many blessings you preserved by not exposing what you could have revealed. They may have seen you as naive. They may have seen you as weak. They may have seen you as too kind, too quiet, not tough enough. What they didn't understand is that you acted with a strength they had never encountered. The strength of one who knows that Allah sees all, hears all, directs all. And now, this light that held you back is no longer just there to protect you. It is evolving, changing its intensity, transforming, because it has not finished shining.
You don't yet know what it is announcing, but you will soon understand why Allah held you back for so long. And what this light is preparing is just beginning to appear on the horizon.
There comes a moment in your life when everything changes in a fraction of a second. A moment when time seems to speed up, when events align as if by magic, but it's not magic. It's Allah. Everything that was hidden begins to appear. Everything that seemed lost, useless or broken suddenly becomes a centerpiece, a gift in disguise that you never dared to imagine.
Do you remember all those nights when you wondered why nothing was changing? All those silences that weighed you down, all those doors that closed right in front of you, all those wounds that seemed irreparable. All of this was not by chance. It was the preparation, the necessary prelude to what is happening now. There comes a moment when Allah decides that the script must change, and it changes in a breath, without warning, without apparent logic. The pieces you thought were disparate fit together perfectly. The faces that seemed to turn their backs on you reveal their true nature. The relationships that had hurt you become revelations. And even the losses you thought were final transform into keys to doors you never saw. The breakthrough never comes gently. It never comes where your mind thinks it's ready. It never arrives with the noise of the world to alert you. It comes after the silence. After you've waited, hoped, prayed, and sometimes doubted. After your soul has learned to endure without proof. After your hands have opened without receiving anything, simply because you trusted. And that moment, when it arrives, is so intense that you feel your body react before you even understand what's happening. It's as if every cell of your being recognizes what your heart has long sensed. Everything you've been through, all the expectations, all the disappointments, all the trials, was just the prelude. A subtle staging orchestrated by the one who sees the visible and the invisible. There comes a moment when what was fragile becomes strong. What was incomplete becomes perfect. What was invisible becomes visible. And you realize that everything you've been through hasn't been in vain. Every tear, every sleepless night, every doubt had a specific purpose: to prepare you for this precise moment. And you begin to understand the breakthrough you've been waiting for isn't just an event. It's not a temporary success, a fleeting opportunity, or a simple relief. It's a profound transformation, a divine reorganization of your life, your mind, your heart, and your destiny. Time speeds up. Synchronicities multiply. The answers arrive faster than you can grasp them. The masks fall away. The truths are revealed. And you realize that what you thought was the end was only the beginning. Everything that came before, every delay, every trial, every silence, was necessary for this moment to have the weight, the strength, and the clarity it deserves. And at the heart of this breakthrough, you will feel something you have never felt before. The certainty that nothing can surprise you, that nothing is left to chance, that everything is orchestrated with invisible precision. You are ready. You are aligned. And what is happening now is unlike anything you have ever known. You feel that tension in your heart, don't you? That subtle vibration that never disappears, even amidst the noise of your life. You don't know exactly where it comes from. It has no name. It's not easily described. It's not anxiety, even if your body reacts as if something is about to happen. It's not fear, even if your mind races at times. No, it's something else. It's that strange moment when Allah gently embraces your soul. A light, invisible, intimate pressure that pushes you, draws you closer, prepares you without your being aware of it. It's as if your heart has sensed the shadow of a presence. Something greater than you, something specific, an invisible orchestration that places you exactly where you need to be, right on the threshold of what is to come. Do you feel that shiver in your hands? That little warmth in your chest? It's your soul recognizing its next step. It senses what your mind doesn't yet understand. It senses that what's coming isn't just an event. It's a revelation. A manifestation of what you've been waiting for, sometimes without even knowing you were waiting for it. Look within. There have been seasons of silence, nights when you prayed without answers, days when you waited without seeing any progress, trials that seemed to hold you back, test you, exhaust you, and yet every tear, every moment of doubt, every feeling of emptiness wasn't wasted. Everything was precisely orchestrated for this exact moment, for this invisible turning point you sense today. There's movement in the unseen realm, a movement that no one else perceives, but that your soul feels. It's subtle, but powerful. It's silent, but it changes everything. It's invisible, but it's preparing to reveal everything. Something is approaching. You know it instinctively. You sense it even before your conscious mind accepts it. Your heart knows it. Your body feels it. Your mind begins to understand that what is coming will transform what you thought was immutable. And you realize that there is a time for everything. A time for silence, a time for trial, a time for patience, and a time for breakthrough. What you are experiencing now is that moment just before the change. The moment when Allah prepares every detail. The moment when destiny draws near without you yet being able to fully see it. The moment when everything you have sown, patiently nurtured, left in silence, is rearranging itself to give you exactly what your soul needs. You can almost feel the first spark. You know it's there, but you can't touch it yet. It's that strange feeling, both gentle and electric, light and powerful, intimate and infinite. It's your heart understanding what your mind doesn't yet know. Something is approaching, something is preparing, something will be revealed, and you can't do anything to hasten the process. All you can do is remain calm. Breathe. Watch your heart beat silently. Feel that tension, which is actually the promise of what's to come. Your soul already knows. It knows that everything that has been kept secret, everything that has been delayed, everything that has been invisible, will soon appear. And when that moment comes, you will feel it in every fiber of your being, like an answer you've been waiting for all your life. If you're still here, it's because something in this message has touched your heart. Perhaps it's the silence that surrounds you. Perhaps it's the waiting that weighs you down. Or perhaps it's the deep feeling that Allah is preparing something for you. Don't let this moment pass you by. Surround yourself with a community that seeks the same light as you. Subscribe, turn on notifications, and join us for each new reflection. And above all, write in the comments, "I trust in Allah in my silence." Let these words be your first step toward the breakthrough He is preparing. This is just the beginning. Stay with us.